Hey, it's TDA and welcome to Astro Colony. Or maybe I should say welcome back to Astro Colony because I actually showcased this game on this channel before while it was still in beta. Since a few weeks it's actually been out in early access. There have been a massive amount of updates to this game. I didn't really get a chance to cover it sooner, even though I would have liked it because I was just way too busy. And this is a huge time sink, this game, because basically this game is satisfactory in space. You build your own space platform, you mine stuff, you mine asteroids, you mine these little chunks of rock flying around that have ores in them and stuff like that. In general, it has a very satisfactory feel to it, but at the same time it's quite a different game. You have robots you can build, you have colonies that can come over that you need to keep alive, and that will automate some tasks for you and things like that. So it's probably better to show than tell, so I'm very excited to dive into a game and kind of show you over the next few episodes what this game is all about. And if you like it, remember it is out in early access, so you can actually go and get it yourself as well. Just in terms of full disclosure, I was provided access by the developer, singular, because I think it's still being developed only by a single person, which is extremely impressive if you ask me. So I did get free access to the game, but as always, my opinions are my own, so I am not being paid to promote this in any way or anything like that. So if the game sucks, you will know, but if it's awesome, I'm going to honestly and truthfully tell you as well. It's worth noting that, similar to Dyson Sphere Program, if you make a new game, you can actually put in a seed number. So if you want to play on exactly the same map as I am, you can put in the seed number 1234, 1234. I know, very original. And then you should have a very similar space system as I have. I am also going to be playing with oxygen consumption on. We're in space after all, so I think it makes sense. It's not a hugely difficult thing to deal with. We'll have the kind of the tutorial bot enabled. It's probably not going to be needed, but hey, let's just keep it on. We might learn something new. I'm not really sure what the booster is. Can we find that out somehow? This one has a pop-up, free construction, but that kind of speaks for itself, but the other ones don't. Not entirely sure what the booster is. Let's just enable it. We can always disable it again, I guess, later on if it turns out it's not needed. Oh look, we actually get a starting cutscene now. I'm wondering, do we actually get the spaceship as well? Probably not, but let's find out.
Believing that one planet would be enough for us was wrong.
Obviously.
Our colossal ambitions pushed us to leave our homes. Driven by the need of development and achievements, humanity seeks opportunities to discover new worlds and perhaps new dimensions. We are the first colonists, laying the foundation for future generations. It's your turn now. Show your survival skills, unlock technologies, and remember, the galaxy is yours to conquer.
Well, that was actually a pretty short and sweet intro. I kind of liked it, honestly. It's to the point, but kind of fleshes out the story a little bit more, because I guess that's kind of the type of colonists we're going to gather. Later, we also have this little robot that is supposed to be guiding us through our initial steps of the game. You can turn it off, you just put it to sleep, and it won't bother you anymore. But especially initially, it's very useful just to have it around and show you the ropes. Now, the game is not called Astro Colony just because it sounds cool, but it also is because, well, as you can see, there's a lot of asteroids flying around. Now, we should be able to fly from the get-go. There we go. And we can just fly up to some asteroids and start cutting away at them. As you can see, that's actually also what the robot suggests that we start out doing. And I'm kind of fiddling around with the controls, so sorry about that. As you can see, we are getting different types of resource. We can gather copper. This is probably going to give us some iron over here. Yep. I'm assuming this is iron. Yep, as you can see. And all you need to do is hack away at these resources. Now, of course, this is definitely something we want to automate long term. But for now, this is the way we get our resources. There's different types other than just copper and iron. We, for example, have this blue one over here that we're going to need quickly as well, which is going to provide us with ice cubes. And as you can see, we are also getting some basic science already. And the basic science is, of course, exactly what it says. It will allow us to unlock some technologies later on, and we're going to need that to get our first automation going. Now, handcrafting in this game is very much a thing, especially early on, but the nice thing is you can actually automate that as well. So for example, I can use the recipe iron bar hands, and if you're just as confused by this as I was initially, this doesn't actually mean we're going to make iron bar hands. No, we are going to use our hands to create iron bars. So the wording is a little bit weird there, but this has been in the game at least since the beta, and I'm expecting this is probably not going to change, but it would be more clear if it had like little parentheses or something around hands, just to confirm this is by hand rather than by machine. Anyway, way too much rambling about creating some iron bars. We have now done so, which means that we can move on to creating a oxygen meter, or at least we need to check the oxygen meter because it's in the bottom left corner. You can turn it off if you don't like this mechanic, but basically this is not too much hassle and we're going to need to make oxygen anyway. And by doing so, we make sure that we don't die from being in space without oxygen. Now, the ice that I just mined is going to go into the oxygen generator, which we should be able to make, but we first need to unlock it. We have some basic science already, and just clicking on the resource, the technology that we want, will unlock oxygen. We're going to need a lot of other stuff as well. For example, we are going to need to get some electricity going, we need some water, etc. But for now, let's just focus on getting the oxygen generator up and running. We can probably put it nicely in the middle over here, maybe. Does it really matter? Probably not. But let's just have it outward facing anyway, just in case. Now, as you can see, buildings in this game actually have different ports, and well, that's not what I wanted to click. Which button do I press? There we go. One for power on the left hand side over here, and one for I think this is water on the right hand side, and then we have a port. Not entirely sure what we're going to do to this, but a directional port for inputs on the back end. So this really determines how you're going to lay out your buildings, because of course you can't actually switch these ports. Now we have this oxygen generator. All we need to do is have some ice in our inventory, press F, and then you can see we are slowly refilling our oxygen meter. So as long as we have any of those blue asteroids flying around every here and there, we should be able to keep our oxygen up and running very easily. As you can see, I already have 12 on me. It's not just in the blue asteroids. Every now and then you will find it in other asteroids as well. So as long as you're basically mining, we should not run out of ice and therefore not run out of oxygen anytime soon. Now we have our basic survival issues sorted out. This is of course a time to start working towards something more complicated and automated, for which we are going to need electricity. I just realized the booster that we enabled at the start is actually over here already, so I'm not entirely sure why you need to activate it from the get-go, or at least why there's that option, because this seems to be very early in the tree anyway. And the only thing this does is actually allowing you to fly faster in a certain direction, but at a cost of oxygen. So we have it unlocked from the get-go now apparently, but if you don't enable it at the start, it just takes a few minutes to get here. Anyway, we are going to want electricity because we need a carbon reactor, which we can fill with carbon in order to make power. I think this is a pretty good location, and once we have that up and running, we can open it up and we can fill it with some of that carbon ore that we collected. This is definitely not coal, it's carbon ore, but I'm probably going to be calling it coal for a very long time because, I don't know, well, coal is basically carbon ore, but anyway. And with great power comes great automation, because now we are able to unlock asteroid catching as well as smelting, and both of those things are of course going to take a lot of the effort out of our hands and into automation. Now, first of all, asteroid catching is basically exactly what it sounds and what it looks like in the picture. It's going to allow us to automatically draw in asteroids, and of course the smelting. If we put this on a belt and towards our smelter, it's going to allow us to not handcraft anymore. Now, I should probably take my own advice from Satisfactory and leave myself some room when I'm building, so let's place the asteroid catcher on the far end from where we have our power. Now, I can't stress enough how much I like being able to fly around from this game from the get-go. In order for this to work, we're going to have to connect it up to the power, and I'm thinking, just like we've done before, we can probably run the cables beneath the platform so they're nice and tidy and they don't get in the way. And after wondering for a minute why I can't actually delete items, it turns out you actually need to unlock the technology to do so first. So we have destruction over here, which allows us to destroy unwanted items and collect recyclables, which can then later be processed in the recycling machine. So basically anything you destroy doesn't just go back in your inventory, you need to recycle it. Not entirely sure how big of a fan I am of that system, but anyway, that's how it works in this game. So let's unlock that and let's start destroying some stuff and making some power cables. So it seems we cannot actually destroy the floor parts for the simple reason we can't construct the floor parts either. I guess that's kind of a protection from the game to prevent you from demolishing your entire building platform and then finding out you can't actually build it yet. At the same time, it's a little bit annoying, but it definitely wasn't that way in the beta, but we'll have to make do for now. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do, simply going to bring these power cables underneath the hard way, just basically not through the floor but around the floor, and then to connect them back up on the other side. There we go. Doesn't this look beautiful? We have a little power line, we have some power up and running, which should allow us to now jump into our little machine and just kind of catch some asteroids. And the way this works, I'm not entirely sure. I think we can only queue up one. Yeah, so just one at a time. And you kind of, oh, this one has actually gold in it. So the way this works is if we catch the asteroids, it will start smelting them by default. We are able to, of course, grab anything out again. We need to press E in order to do that. We'll store up a decent amount of resources that we can just withdraw from it. As you can see, we also have a secondary asteroid attracted as well, so as soon as it's finished with this one, we should see the other one popping in. Should only take a moment. There we go. And then it will start processing that one. Now, this is not completely automated just yet, because of course that means we need to attract a new one. But basically, if we build just a few of these, we should have enough to make sure we don't have to fly around and manually hack away at these asteroids. I'm actually wondering how much power is this consuming? Only 2, so we were producing a total of 10 power from a single carbon reactor. So as you can see, we can easily afford to place down maybe 2 or 3 more of these just to get going. Well, this is starting to look like a facility. Of course, we still have to manually hop into these collectors, and we are still smelting and producing all the materials by hand. So let's fix that by making some smelters. And just like that, we have 3 smelters up and running once again. I, of course, connected them to the power, and I'm not entirely sure why we need 3, but hey, we might as well use the space we have, and we are going to be making a lot of different items. So let's see, if we drop something in here, like, say, copper ore, control click, yep, that works a lot better. It will start producing that. I'm not entirely sure if it can produce more than 1 item at the same time. It can, which is very interesting and probably means that I shouldn't have built 3 of them, but hey, it is producing a lot of items at the same time, and that means that we are now producing iron bars, copper bars, and gold bars at a better ratio than we were before, because in the handcrafting recipe we need 2 iron ore, for example, to make 1 iron bar, and in this machine we need 3 iron ore to make 2 bars. So basically it's 50% more efficient and 50% faster as well, not to mention that we can still handcraft if we need, for whatever reason, more resources. Now, of course, this does still mean that we have to manually bring the resources here. We have to manually start capturing the little things over here. We can't actually click more than 1 at the same time, which is a little bit annoying, although you can kind of hop into one, then hop into the next, click a thingy, then go back to the first, find a new asteroid, and hop out, then go back to the second, and then by then the other one has arrived, so you can probably go back to this one. Yeah, it works. It's not that big of a hassle, but of course it is still far from automated since we have to grab all of these. We also have to make sure we keep putting carbon ore into these things, although they do burn for a very long time. As you can see, one ore actually burns for 30 seconds, so this is already going to be burning for over 15 minutes, and that's assuming I need the power. I'm not entirely sure if it throttles the power. I don't think it actually does, so building more power stations like I've done over here, even though we do actually need more than 10 power already, is probably not something you want to scale up too fast in that way. In order to really start automating our base, we are going to need quite a few more things actually. So we'll need logistics to actually put stuff on belts, as well as in storage. In order to make sure our belts stay organized, we are going to need these logistic blocks, which make sure that we can have certain items go on certain belts or not go on certain belts. As you saw, all the asteroids have a lot of different types of resources in them, so we need to make sure that stays organized. And in order to make these belts, we are actually going to need to make plates. So we have that unlocked over here. And then we are going to work towards getting automated catching, because if we have that, we can catch the asteroids automatically, we can put stuff on the belt, then we can have it being smelted, and then we can have it put into storage, which basically completes that entire circle of production. And then we really have things basically starting to work for us than us making stuff by hand. Do we need anything else at this point? I'm not sure what is a cosmic harpoon. A harpoon connector. I'm assuming this has something to do, just looking at the picture, with connecting to land, so that we're going to need that at some point as well. And construction is going to be very useful, since that will allow us to make a constructor, which is a building that makes more complex items. So let's get to that. I think that means it's time for a little bit of a redesign of our initial facility, because thinking about it, we are going to be catching asteroids, we are going to have to power it, so we're going to have to have the carbon ore from this going through the direction of the power facility. So I place these two together now, and then we can probably have this belt ongoing with all the remaining ores, and then go right into this smelter over here, and then we can have the smelter output in this storage unit. So in order to do that, we are going to need to place down some belts. We're going to need some plates for that. I created a few just to show you how it works. So what we can do is we can place down these belts. They are directional, so you can see we can turn them around to determine in what direction the belts go. Hello asteroid, you're getting in my way. And then we should be able to kind of drag this like so. And then we can have it go in this direction like so, and you get the point. So you can see automatically everything is outputted on this belt. Not entirely sure why there is nothing coming out from this one. Maybe it's just because there is actually something in there. I think that's just because it's prioritizing one over the other, and there's only going to be one of these outputting at the same time. Although we do have a secondary output on this side, and we do have a secondary output on this side as well. So all in all, we should be able to organize this in such a way that these belts should never get congested, assuming, of course, if we connect them up. I'm going to need to farm a little bit more resources for that, and be right back. Isn't this beautiful? We now have 3 catchers sort of automated. At least we have to only hop in there every now and then. They are then melting everything. We have everything being put on belt. I actually put in a small storage unit over here to take out all the ice that we are collecting, because we don't have anywhere for that to go just yet. Then the carbon ore is going to be put into this specific carbon reactor. We can't actually split it yet, so everything is just going to go in this one. As soon as we need more power, we might every now and then need to manually split this up. We can deal with that later, but for now this is how that's going to work. And then all the remaining ore, which should be copper, gold, and iron, is going to go into this smelter, and then that is actually smelting that automatically into bars, which is the only thing we can do with it, so that is pretty efficient. And then it's spitting out these bars and putting them back in storage. And then if we check this, we have a decent stockpile of bars sitting here that we can just pick up. And the only problem with this, it's not completely automated because of the asteroid catching, but other than that, working like intended. Now I think this is a good moment to stop this. This is kind of a good feel for what you will do probably in your first session. And let me know in the comments, what do you think about this game? It's not entirely fair to compare it to Satisfactory because of course it has a way smaller development team, and it's a rather different game as well, and you have to say it's very addictive. Let me know what you think. I'm going to be exploring this game a little bit further in this newest edition over the next few episodes. So if you like that, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you have any questions on the game, let me know in the comments as well. I'll be more than happy to answer that. Thank you for joining, and I hope to catch you in the next one.